Hey, this is Matthew, and welcome back to Nerd News Today. This time around the channel, we have a review that I've been waiting to do for 2 years, or close to 2 years rather, because that's how long ago I pre-ordered this thing. And if you think that's a crazy amount of time to wait for an action figure, well, you better stay tuned for this one. Today we're taking a look at, from the Four Horsemen's Mythic Legions line of action figures, their first ever steed, Balius the horse, from their Arethyr line. Now, we haven't looked at a Mythic Legions figure in quite some time, and that's not because I haven't been buying them, it's because I have been. I've just been kind of letting them collect some dust on a shelf for a bit, but I decided that today, with this figure in particular, it's definitely worth taking a look back at again. If you're unfamiliar with this line of figures, they are produced by a company called the Four Horsemen, who also provide a lot of sculpting for many other toy lines that you've been buying for years, and chances are I didn't even realize it was them behind it. But besides all of their sculpting work, they also have their own original line of action figures, and that's the Mythic Legions. And it's this grand, big fantasy world that's full of orcs and knights and ogres and all sorts of crazy things, fantasy, sorcery, you name it, it's got it in there. The figures all look gorgeous, they come with amazing accessories, they got this grand backstory, and best of all, they are super customizable. Every single joint pulls out, easy to swap things around. They've made these with collectors in mind, as well as people who actually want to do things like customizing, or just having loose displays and making big battle scenes. And that's why I'm so excited about this one, and that's why I don't mind that I waited 2 years to get this, because this is the very first horse that the Mythic Legions figures have added to their collection. But this is the first time in their IP that they've added anything like this into the collection. So this is Balius the horse. I think I've rambled on too long. Let's just jump into the packaging here, and you guys can see exactly what we're talking about. It's just got a nice big window that lets you see everything this figure comes with, and that's more than just a horse, believe it or not. On one side of the package, we have a really lovely illustration of this horse, and on the opposite side, we have another character we're going to be looking at very soon. The back of the box has, again, another amazing illustration, along with a very detailed backstory, along with a few credits for the people who are behind these toys, which includes Eric Treadaway, Jim Preziosi, and Cornboy Eric Mays. And by the way, this illustration on the box is done by Nathan Berch. Hope I'm saying these guys' names right. And that illustration is of the big baddie and who this line is named after. That is Arethyr. But like I said, we're going to get to him in a different video. So hey, I've been talking too long about this already. Let's go ahead and get this horse out of the package and take him for a ride. Alright, and here is our Balius now out of the package, and man, it is even better than I could have possibly believed it was going to be. Just giving this thing an initial look over right now, I mean, I'm beyond blown away. There's times where I'm at a loss for words. This is one of them, folks. So just to let you know about the packaging also, there were basically, I think, 6 or 7 twisty ties on this figure attaching into that plastic, and they were very easy to remove. No problem at all, actually. You know, we've looked at a lot of other toys that have had twisty ties. I'm talking about Diamond Select, and they've been nightmares to get through, but this high-end figure was so easy to get out of there. I mean, it was secure, don't get me wrong. It was secure in that package. It wasn't going to go anywhere, but it was a breeze to remove all those twisty ties. And other than the twisty ties, the only other thing that you had to know about is these. This is what their hoofs were in to keep them protected, and that was actually pretty cute. I liked finding these in there. But other than that, real easy to take out of the box. So let's talk about our stallion here. So first things first, I got to talk about the sculpting, because man, like, this face is so amazing. It's so lifelike too. The Four Horsemen just does amazing work, and yeah, this is just one of those days where you're just wowed by it. Like, it's a work of art. And it's not difficult for me to say that about this figure here. It's just a gorgeous looking head sculpt on it. It's so lifelike. I'm just waiting for steam to come out of the horse's nose after a long day of running around or something. Like, this is just beautiful. And in addition to the sculpting on the head just being so nice, I mean, there's all this texture here too. That looks so great, like all of his fur on his mane. And the texture is throughout the entire sculpt too. You guys can hopefully see it on the body, on the legs here, on the hind legs as well. I mean, there's just great texture. And another big important thing to talk about too is the fact that it's standing up on its own weight very easily, and it's very solid. This guy is not moving around. This is one of those toys where if you had a loose joint, you would be in absolute hell. And luckily, nothing is loose about this. This is very stiff out of box. That's always a good thing when you got something like this. Now, a lot of folks who ordered this got this mystery item here in the box that they ordered their Mythic Legions figures in. What the heck is this thing, you may ask? Well, there was no guidance actually given in the box, but apparently this is a piece to use for the head. So I believe you can pop the head off, and we're going to try that now and see how that works. This piece would be used for the horse's head. It's apparently not totally needed. You don't need to have this piece in there, but they just included it. And it was meant to be in the box. There we go. It was meant to be included in the box, but they just basically ran out of time, I think, ran out of space or money. I don't really know the whole details, but that's essentially what's going on here. So I think it's meant to be like this. And I guess we just slide it back in, maybe? I mean, yeah, I don't quite remember how it was. If anybody actually out there knows how to put this in, I know there are some people who have shown some videos of it. I think it's just meant to be like a little additional piece to make it look a little bit more realistic, but you don't need it. And that's word straight from the Horsemen themselves. So, but yeah, that's just what that is. So now you all know exactly what the heck this thing is for. So let's spend a little bit of time here talking about articulation. Now, I'm not expecting a great deal of it because it's a horse, and horses don't do splits. They're not going to be doing any crazy poses. We just need to know if it can do some of the key poses. And so let's see. This can move left to right. It is ball jointed. You can go up and down, left to right. The head, we already saw, has a little bit of movement there as well. It's the legs that are going to have all the articulation. And so we've got very stiff joints here. I'm afraid to actually move it too much. But yeah, you guys can see here the knee joints move, and the hooves also have a joint, so you can move them. And let's see, you can get the horse in its hind legs here. Oh, we got some accessories falling out. So yeah, like I said, the joints are very, very stiff out of the box. So I'm not going to mess around with it too much today. And I recommend, by the way, if you guys end up getting this also and you want to pose it, get a blow dryer, warm up these joints before you try and do anything because you do not want to break this figure. And by the way, what was that little piece that fell off? That was over here. This is a bedroll for the horse. That goes on the horse's saddle, which we can talk about now also. And that's cool that that's removable. I didn't actually know if that was going to be one piece or a removable thing, which makes me wonder if they're going to make other types of things for the horses to have. But yeah, this is the saddle. Again, also a really great looking piece. Wonderful texture, amazing detail on this. Look at the stirrups. Let's look at that bottom there too. Man, this just looks so... Yeah, I want to say period accurate, but I have no idea what's actually accurate about it. But it just looks so great, so realistic. Even the texture up here, like it looks like it's had people sit on it. Like it looks a little bit worn. And same thing with this part over here. I don't know what they actually call this, but this strap for the horse, I guess, to use, like this is pretty great also. Nice separate piece, moves around, got some good flexibility on this piece of plastic also. And I would think that all these pieces do come off as well. In fact, yeah, I actually can see, looks like right here, this is the piece that would be removable to pop the saddle out. I gotta be honest with you guys, I don't want to do it because it's gonna probably be a pain to get back in. I don't want to play that game today, but yeah, this saddle is removable, as is this piece up here. I bet if you take the head off, in fact, it'll be really easy to get that off. So that's another cool part. And the fact that this is pretty flexible, you should have no problems, really. You shouldn't have to worry too much about it. I just don't want to take it on and off. Well, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's actually just try it and see. Okay, and boom, saddle's off. Let's try and get this thing off. Now, this piece on the front of the head looks like it's actually just one piece, and you'd want to just wiggle it off. I think that's where I'm going to stop for today. I don't want to be that risky, but here's what your horse will look like. So you can totally have wild horses. That's pretty great. Let's see if this actually goes back on just as easily. That was my concern. That's why I didn't want to do this on camera. Oh, I hope this goes back in. And you know what? All right. Let's see, get a little more oomph in there. I think it's back in there, more or less. Just, by the way, another thing I just learned about the saddle, too. So besides this bedroll coming out, this piece also comes off. So you can actually do some real serious swapping of parts here. And if they start making more horses, oh, you know that's going to be a thing that's going to happen. So I'm going to go put everything back together and come right back. All right, so I do want to let you know I actually am having a little bit of trouble getting this back in there. It's going to take probably a little bit more time and a little bit more elbow grease to get in there. It just doesn't quite sit as well as it did previously. That's what I was worried about. But at least I showed you guys what it looked like, and I learned about the saddle coming off too. And by the way, we didn't even mention this in articulation, but yeah, the horse's tail also moves. How about that? Ball-jointed tail. That's so cool. So let me put that bedroll back also. That fell off while we were doing that. And once again, the bedroll just slides right back into place. That looks so good. In addition to your horse, you will also receive with this a nice looking short sword, which has got some really good weathering on the handle as well. And it'll basically fit any of your Mythic Legions figures or any other 6-inch figures in that scale, as well as this small buckler, this really nice shield, one-handed shield. So again, any figure who is in this scale should be able to handle it with no problems. And both look very nice. They're good little bonuses. You know, like we didn't need them, but I'm glad they put them in there. And I believe they're also meant to, I guess, put them over here. So you can put one over there. I think you can just drape the shield right onto this part here. And there you go. Your horse is now battle ready. So you know what? Let's try this out with some figures here. And I'm going to have to turn off the green screen for a second here because unfortunately, the only Mythic Legions figure I got in this wave was Vortog here, and he's quite green, as you can see. So I will take some other photos later of the toys, but I just want to show you for the sake of argument how this guy gets on, how he fits. So, you know, he should be able to just spread his legs and sit on up there, and it shouldn't be any issues. Let's see how easy this is or isn't. Well, okay, that's pretty easy, actually. Now, Vortog is one of the bad guys, so he's actually meant to be with Atheon, more or less, but just for the sake of argument, just wanted to show you guys how it's going to look when it's all together. And, I mean, he looks good. Like, his legs are actually fitting that horse fairly easily. Let's see if we can get this strap in his hands like this. And, I mean, there you go. I mean, that's looking pretty good. This is looking very solid. I'm being lazy. Let's try and get that other hand on there, too. Why not? Boom, there you go. Both hands are on it now. And that looks pretty darn good to me. So, yeah, no problems whatsoever. It looks great. But let me put a few other figures on here too, just so you guys can see what it looks like with some other characters, including some green ones with the green screen. So in the meantime, I'll give you my final thoughts about this figure. So as I mentioned at the start of this video, I waited for nearly 2 years to get this, and again, absolutely worth the wait. Like, this is a beautiful looking horse. I love this thing. And best of all, and this might surprise you, this only cost me $55. Excluding shipping and handling, of course, but for me, $55 for a company this size, that's amazing. That's an amazing price for something like this. And again, I had no problem waiting the near 2 years for this. I mean, I've talked about other figures I've gotten, like let's say the Super 7 New Japan figures that were just constantly whatever pushed back again and again and again. There are other things from even Hasbro and Mattel that have been pushed back here and there a little bit. But with a company like Four Horsemen Studios and their Mythic Legion figures, you put in the pre-order, you know it's going to take a while. And yeah, this definitely took a little bit longer because of all the stuff happening in the world right now, because of the pandemic. But that's kind of par for the course of these figures, and they're absolutely, again, just worth the wait because they blow away all my expectations. Now, maybe I'm just a compulsive buyer and I didn't know all this stuff was going to happen when I ordered the figure, but I had no idea about the saddle parts coming off. I hoped it did, but I had no idea about the saddle actually being removable. I kind of hoped it did, and I assumed it would have. But yeah, I didn't know that all the pieces in the saddle were also going to come apart. I didn't realize that all the different things on the horse's head were going to come off. And although I didn't show you guys, I'm pretty sure you can actually pull the neck out to get that part around its neck also off. So you can basically have a horse that's domesticated and tamed, or a wild horse, whatever you want to do with it. There's a lot of possibilities for this, and there's a lot more, I'm sure, on the way from these guys. Because now that the mold is made, you know there's going to be a lot more horses coming soon. And although I didn't order this, they actually did have another steed that came out recently, and they did a moose. And that moose was pretty awesome looking, and I kind of regret not ordering that one now too, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, the best thing too, as you guys can see, is these fit with 6-inch figures really great, because they basically are for 6-inch scale. So this is perfect use for any of your characters. I especially love how good it looks with these Lord of the Rings figures from Diamond Select, and those are going to be great to have with them later on. And at that price, it's not too bad to get yourself a whole army of these things. So the important takeaway here for you collectors out there who want to get some of these horses is that you're going to want to start following the Four Horsemen on all of their social media channels, because when they put pre-orders up, you got to jump on these things. Because once they're gone, they're off to Big Bad Toy Store or eBay, and those prices are not going to be pretty. Now, speaking of, if you want to order these for yourself, well, you missed out on the pre-order, so you're going to have to deal with eBay prices or go to Big Bad Toy Store, who also have a lot of Mythic Legions. They have tons of Mythic Legions. They constantly rotate on sale. You never know what they're going to get, so make sure you visit them. And by the way, we have links for them in the description below. So that's our look at Balius from the Mythic Legions Arethyr line from the Four Horsemen. Amazing if you're a collector of fantasy, if you love D&D, and if you want action figures to kind of play out those storylines or whatever, just for whatever reason. I mean, there's 100 reasons to get them. Do it. Never hesitate on a Mythic Legions figure, and I'll tell you, I never do hesitate on a Mythic Legions figure, so scoop them up while you can. So, until next time, I'm Matthew. We'll see you guys later. Now let's ride out of here. Nay. That's my horse noise. Deal with it.